I'm going to go ahead and do a boundary surface now, and I'm going to use that new split edge. Now you can see we can't actually see that line there, and there's a good reason for that. Under View, Display, I have Tangent Edges Removed. So it's not making any distinction between those two because they actually have tangency. If I make them phantom, now we can actually see that edge where we split. And you know, that might be a good indicator for you if you want to see it there. After we do any sort of knit, if I actually go and knit this to this surface here and I OK that, you can see this line now has that phantom edge, and that's because these two are actually one surface, but that edge now differentiates it from the rest of the surface. So just keep that in mind. If you go to View, Display, and you have tangent edges visible, it's obviously it's a well-defined line, but sometimes that can mess you up. You might look at this and you might say, hey, that's two different surfaces, when really it's not. So I usually keep them removed. I'll leave them on phantom for now, just to make it easier for you guys to see. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this boundary surface. Select that edge and the other sketch, and you can see it just went right up to that edge, and it stopped where we wanted it to. Just one other real quick note for you. Whenever you're making these selections, you're not necessarily limited to one edge. You can right click and use the selection manager, and this thing that pops up, you have several options here. The one with the 3 mouse cursor icon right here says select group. That will actually let me select multiple edges. You know, I can come all the way up here and OK that. So say I wanted to drive that shape, you know, all the way up through these edges, it would allow me to do so. Now I know that in this model, that shape that we created for this this back sketch here ends at that line, so that's not really what we want. So let's go ahead and let's just finish this off and OK that. Alright, so now just for kicks, let's turn the curvature on. Let's look at what we have here. Alright, so there's very little curvature around here, and if you remember when we were looking at the curvature combs, there were very few combs, or actually the height or the intensity of these combs was very small. And once we got closer to that curve, we started introducing more and more. Now again, because we're not concerned with matching the curvature between these two surfaces, this isn't really a big issue here. I mean, we've got obviously a much different radius of curvature coming up to this edge. But you know, in this model, what we're probably going to do is apply a fillet to that edge, and you'll see the curvature later on. When we apply that fillet, I'll do the curvature analysis, and then I'll also show you how you can actually blend those two together if that's the end result you want. So just understand that there are definitely many options for you. If you're trying to do this quick and you just want a certain look, by all means, take shortcuts that you need to, as long as the end result is still acceptable for what you need. So next, if we look at this side plane, or the side blueprint, we are going to probably take this curve from here all the way up to this mid front plane that we created. So I'm going to go ahead on the right plane, I'm going to draw a sketch, and let's start at that edge, and I'm going to come up here, and then we're going to grab, let's see, what was it, mid front plane, and select that endpoint and make them coincident. Now, looking at this, it's somewhat clear that the curvature doesn't really end at this point. I can't apply a horizontal relation here because that would not give us what we want. What I want to do back here is I'm going to apply my tangent relation. Actually, no, I take that back. Let's go ahead and let's apply equal curvature. Now, you see here, this is still undefined. We applied equal curvature, but really all it did was give us a tangent relation. So understand that it's doing this because there's really not any curvature back there to match. So you can see we move this around and that actually drove that back. So let's see, let's move this around. Remember, we don't want a horizontal relation. We're gonna match this. So it's important to understand that the direction this handle is going, when we apply a curvature relation to the next spline we create, it's going to be going this direction. It's going to be, following that directional path. So make sure that you put these in the right spot, and you apply. If you need to, insert a construction line. Apply your angle dimension. Let's just say 6.5 degrees. Say 2700 and let's just say 3000 for that and give it a little bit more. Alright, so you can still see it's underdefined. We're going to need to apply a dimension. Let's say 330. Alright, so now we're fully defined, and let's just see what that'll give us. At this point, I've drawn this model before. I drew this part several months ago probably, so I don't remember what I did then. I'm completely going off of how I would approach it now. So this might not work out, it might work out, but like I said, you need to know the tools that you're using, and you need to be able to make adjustments, make changes on the fly to match what you're doing. Alright, so at this point it's going to be mirrored across the right plane, so we know we're going to want a horizontal relation there. As far as the rest of the shape, let's go ahead and see what we're working with here. Now looking at this, obviously it's very pixelated, but it almost looks like it actually cuts back in on itself here. I'm going to pull this handle out some, so it looks like we're actually applying a pretty complex curve here in this small area. I'm going to show the curvature combs and see what we have. Okay, so you can see here we have an inflection point where we're going from, let's just say, negative curvature to positive, or concave to convex. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but one thing to look at is how smooth your combs are. So everything looks pretty good. We don't have any big bumps in here, and with just the spline endpoints, you're probably not going to. You'd have to try really hard in order to get bad curvature out of that. Let's give this a dimension, say 850, and I'm going to go ahead and add a construction line here and give that an angular dimension. Alright, it's pretty much on 37.5, so I'm just going to stick with that. And again, I didn't turn my curvature combs off, so I got to go back in, turn those off, and exit that sketch. One note I do want to make right now. Obviously, I've been naming the planes, but you'll probably notice that I haven't named any of the sketches or any of the surfaces, except for the helper surfaces. Typically, I would name all these surfaces, at least until I got to a couple hundred of them, and then I would probably give up. But and the reason for that is, a lot of times you'll try to name a surface the same as another surface, and it becomes a headache. But I strongly urge you to name your surfaces. You know, if you come in here and you're